Welcome to the third video on this 1983 BMW 320. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I suggest watching those first. It will answer a lot of questions you'll be asking if you watch this one first. In short, this car came out of the state of California. It was abandoned in the state of Kansas. I bought it from there. It sat on my driveway for 16 months while I tried to get a title. Now that I have a title, I'm trying to get this car to where it runs and drives. Now, I can't completely restore this car. I have too many irons in fire right now, too many other cars to work on, but I still wanted to save this one. I want to get it running and driving well enough that the next person can continue the restoration and build it to the car they want to have. And it's a great chassis to start out with. It's 100% rust-free. It's a very straight chassis for the most part. The interior is not that great, and there's a lot of issues to iron out, which we are getting there. In the last video, I got some of the fuel system sorted. It starts and sounds great. I did a valve adjustment. In this video, I'm going to get this thing sitting on the ground. I've got some wheels and tires for it. I'd like to get the ignition timing set and figure out why it has some aversion to air. We'll play with the CIS system a little bit and see if we can get that ironed out. And then maybe we'll drive it. Maybe. I'm not going to count those chickens yet. In the last video, we found another problem. The wiring for the brake pad sensor is excellent, but I'm going to do that later. That's a later problem. We're going to get wheels and tires on it, and I'll address that at a later date. All right, let's see how this thing cold starts. We'll get it warmed up, and then we'll set the ignition timing. Okay, so the distributor is rotated far enough where it doesn't want to start. Just move it just a hair. Nope. Let's go a little bit further. We're either going the right way or the wrong way. Yep. That is the wrong way.
Let's try that.
Oh, you can do it. That's better. Well, that seems to be a little happier now. It's fine. This thing's just idles perfect. It's super smooth. I didn't think this thing was going to run that smooth ever. In order to set the timing, you're supposed to hold the engine at 2200 RPM and shine your timing light through an oblong hole at the top of the bell housing. You'll see a letter, which I'm guessing is going to be on the flywheel at a certain point. The timing light I'm using actually predates this car. The reason I like to use this is it also finds issues with the spark plug wire. The metal case will give you a zap and let you know that the plug wire is bad. But we're going to get this hooked up, see if I can figure out how to get this engine at 2200 RPM, and then we'll set the timing. All right, it's just shy of 2,000. That sounds like 22. No! Work! Alright, now we're going to verify that at idle on the crank pulley. Alright, timing has been verified. Wish I could show it on camera, but I really can't get my camera and the timing light in there. But timing is set. Now we have to figure out why it hates air, because it still hates air. Well, I found another problem. Yep. So let's go fix that. I really wanted to keep the 13-inch Anki mesh wheels that came on this car on the car, but finding tires for them is kind of a problem. It was a lot easier 15 years ago. So I looked for some 14s because 14-inch wheels are pretty easy to find. They're not expensive. And I was able to come up with some E30 mesh wheels off of a 325. And I know some of you are going, hey, that's perfect. It's not. The offset required for an E21 is not an E30 offset. E30 offset's like 30, and E21s require like a 15 or a 13. It's very difficult to find wheels that fit an E21, which is why I bought spacers. I know, it's not my proudest moment. I'm not a spaceman. I don't really like spacers, but in this situation, the next guy that does whatever he wants with this car, he has the option to put a lot different wheel on this car rather than something with a ridiculous offset. This kind of fixes the problem. It's the most inexpensive way to get a good set of wheels and tires on this car. I'm going to have to cut the studs, which aren't original, and they will still come out after I cut them. You can just weld the threads to the nut and then they'll zip right out. But we're going to cut the studs, we're going to install the spacers, put the wheels on the car, and get the car on the ground. Well, no going back now. All right. I think this is going to work. And if it doesn't, well, I just got to trim some more. Well, this is just going to be a test fit first. Get these started here. Make sure everything lines up all right. And we'll get the torque down. That seems on there. So these are by no means torqued down, but sounds like it might need some wheel bearings, but it fits. Excellent. That should be good. Like a glove. Done. Okay, not really. Nothing's torqued, but it all fits good. It's gonna work. Okay, now I just need to do that on every corner. Some of you might wonder how I will torque the spacers down, and the answer is I just have a stick jammed between the brake pedal and the driver's seat, and it's holding the brakes on. It's better than having another person here, except for apparently not enough brake pressure. Okay, got it readjusted. Let's try this again. On to the other side. The next big hurdle is to address the fact that this engine does not like to rev. There's some enrichment issue with it, and there is an enrichment adjustment on the CIS system. I think someone's been in there messing with it, just judging by the rest of this car. So we're going to remember where we're at. Thankfully, I'm taking video of this, so it'll be easy to reference. And we're going to make adjustments, small incremental adjustments. I think it's running lean because anytime you give it more air, it doesn't want to rev. So we're going to go in the rich direction. We're going to go a quarter turn at a time and see if that makes any difference. If it doesn't make a difference or if it makes things worse, then we have other issues. But I'm really positive that someone's been in here messing around and there's no factory setting anymore because it's gone. So let's get to it. I was able to fix the fuel leak. I just trimmed off part of the hose that was cut because someone had turned this to where this fitting touched this other fitting and it rubbed a hole in that hose. So anyway, that's fixed. Hopefully no more fuel leaks, and we'll get to adjusting on that screw, which is down here. It's really impossible to see unless you know what you're looking for. We're going to turn this screw clockwise to go rich. That's what I think it is. I think it's running lean right now, and I think someone's been in here. Every part of this has been apart. So we're going to get that adjusted, and if we go the wrong direction, we can always go back because we'll remember exactly how I had it set. So the adjustment is on a screw back here. You just put the Allen key in there, And to adjust it, to go rich, we got to go clockwise, which is the direction I'm going to go. And we'll see if that makes things any better. See if she'll start up. Well, that was neat. I've pulled the injectors out of the cylinder head. They slide right out. I suspect that these are part of the problem. I'm not going to say this is all the problems with this, but this is one of the problems I suspect. And what I'm going to do is there's a way to test how these spray fuel. And I'm going to key on, I'm going to jump the fuel pump relay, and fuel should spray out of each injector. And I want you to watch what happens. And I don't know why this one has a braided line. It's also very difficult. I don't know why it's got to be so difficult. Nope, just stay. All right, watch this. We're going to jump. So this has fuel leaking out of it. This is doing nothing. And I can feel it's got pressure. Yep, it's got fuel dribbling out of it. This does nothing. This does nothing. It's pretty terrible. You can get these apart like this. I bet you fuel will come out now. Yep, there's a bunch of fuel. Fuel's just not getting through the injectors. There's one. Stay there. Let's clean these a couple different ways. So the first thing we're going to do to clean these is we're going to soak these overnight in ATF. It's a recommendation from a buddy of mine that has worked on these before. We're just going to pour some ATF in here and let it sit. Okay, and we'll come back tomorrow. Last night these soaked in some automatic transmission fluid, and then I took them to work today and ran them through my Sonic cleaner. So I think that's going to be the best chance I've got at getting these things cleaned up. And if it doesn't work, then I'll likely have to replace them. But I wanted to try that since it was essentially free. Now we're going to do the same test we did before we cleaned these. See if anything changes. I don't see anything yet. Not even a drip. So that changed, but I don't know if that changed for the better. All right, now we're going to crank it. I'm going to see if it shoots out of any of the injectors. That's the cold start injector. I don't think I've got a happy battery cable. One of these is upset here. I definitely have fuel coming out of this one, which is what we had before. We don't really have fuel coming out of any of the others. Could have a problem with the CIS or a clog somewhere else. We're going to try this test again. I think I'm going to jump the fuel pump here, and then I'm going to hold the plunger up inside the fuel distributor. In my head, this works a lot better. Out here. All right, so there's one that sprays really good. And one that, oh, there's two. Oh, the hose came off. Okay, well, I got fuel to them. I think it takes a certain amount of pressure to get the fuel out of these injectors. So we're going to just put this back together. I can always pull it back apart. We're going to see if we can get this thing to fire. I have my doubts. Did not like that. Well, that is a burst fuel hose. Looks like I'm done, at least for today. Having too many projects is not the same thing as not having enough time to work on them. However, in my situation, I think it's both. Yes, too many cars, not enough time to work on them. But I'd like to get at least this one to some resolution. I pushed it out of the garage at the end of winter. I was fed up with it, had other things to work on, and I kind of forgot about it for the majority of summer. Well, now that summer's come to an end, it's in fall, I don't want to look at this any longer. And while the right thing to do would be to just sell it to someone that will do something with it, instead, I'm going to give it another go because I'm stubborn and I want to know that it runs right. So I bought a complete CIS system off of another owner of one of these cars, and we're going to see if at last I can get this thing to run and idle the way it's supposed to. Well, when I last left off, I ruptured a fuel line. I don't remember which one it was, but it popped and sprayed fuel all over my garage floor. And the CIS I bought came with all the fuel lines, the injectors, which is I think the problem here. Came with everything. So we're going to just replace the entire system, the whole thing. And that hopefully will do it. Now for those wondering what the CIS system looks like, it is this. It's basically got a meter and then a fuel distributor here. So the air goes through here and the amount of fuel that is injected into the nozzles is determined completely by the position of the flap. The first thing we're going to do is remove the injector nozzles. And these should just come out. But they are fighting me. 2 out of 4. 3. Hopefully these are numbered because I wasn't paying attention. The next thing I need to do is remove this, it looks like an alternator bracket, which blocks the bolts that hold the mounts on the CIS itself. And take the 2 10s out to hold the CIS in. And I dropped it. Right off the bat. Off to a great start. Let's just get the other one out and drop it too. I got that one. All right, let's get the fuel return and feed off of this thing before we go too crazy. All right, now I've got some clamps for like the intake boot. I'm gonna leave the boot that's in there and use that one. Hopefully that should be out of the way enough where I can actually get the entire CIS out in one go. I have no idea if I'm taking the right bolt or nut out, but it seemed to be in the right location. Let's get old Blue over here. See if we can get this out with old Blue. Okay. Don't worry about the stuff hitting the ground. It's fine. I don't know if this is going to come out or not. Why would they make it so not happy? I don't understand. I guess we'll have to take the boot off. I don't want to take Dot's boot off. Oh, rotation. Is that the answer? I don't know. Why did they put this bracket right here? Hung up on one stud here. It is close to being out, but it is not out. I think they probably want you to pull the intake to get this off, but we're not doing that. Oh boy, we are on the cusp of removal right now. It's loose, but now what do I do? I'll tell you, if this rubber boot wasn't here, it'd be a lot better. There, now we can do stuff. Yeah, that was what was hanging us up. Other things that I need to disconnect here. And we're out. I pride myself that everyone can watch my videos, kids, adults. clean language, everything's family friendly. And that's pretty much how I am in life. But there are a few extenuating circumstances that require me to install things off camera, which is why there's no footage of me reinstalling the CIS system. And it's not that it's difficult, but there's a rubber boot, and you E21 guys know this, that goes between the CIS system and the throttle body intake plenum. And getting that boot in the right place for everything to line up requires a lot of vernacular that's not really, it doesn't really mesh well with YouTube. So I reinstalled the CIS system, everything's put back together. I also checked the back of the car for fuel leaks since I smelled fuel back there the last time I had this car running. And now it's time to see if the new parts I installed made any difference at all. I borrowed the battery from my Miata since it's the only battery I have here that will actually fit underneath the hood. And we're going to see if it runs any better than it did before. Okay, let's turn the key. Let's see what happens. Only got dash lights. Okay. Oh my gosh. It has throttle response. Oh wow. Oh, it's still a little unhappy. I don't know if it'll idle. It loves air though. It hated it before. Let's see, will it go backwards? Oh, it moves. I think I can drive it. Will it idle? Is it on fire? I don't think it's on fire. Oh my god. It's camming hard. It blew out all this stuff out of the exhaust. I guess some rodents. What is this from? Oh, it's fine. Barbecue. Do I have any fuel leaks, more importantly? A little bit. That's not too bad. That one's pretty bad. Let me get a wrench on that. So I guess this car had a bunch of insulation in the exhaust. Rodents smoking a little bit. It's fine. It's all fine. Alright, let's see if we can get these fuel leaks tidied up here. Alright, I think that should do it. It almost sounds like there's a vacuum leak, but there is no air cleaner on it, so that could be why. But look, it loves revving. I hated it before. The belt is unhappy. Alright, I think it's good enough to see if we can drive it. Let's try. There's first gear. I don't know what gear that is, but we're moving. Oh crap, we don't have brakes. Oh yes we do. Yes, it's brake. It's slowing down. Oh, kind of. Oh my god. Come on. Screw it. Oh, crap. Now it's finally time to wash it, or at least try to clean it up a little bit. It's really dirty. It hasn't gotten any cleaner since I've had it, so we're gonna hit it with the power washer and see what. That's good. I get that. Yeah. The best part of the car. Now, I am certainly not a detailer, but I'm just going to give this a little bit of a scrub down. It deserves it after all it's been through. Well, it's wet, so naturally it's going to look a lot better on camera than it actually looks in person. But there's got a lot of dirt. There's a lot of stuff. This car needs a lot, but it's still cleaned up pretty decent. It is a really nice chassis. It's got good bones, as they say. I'm glad to have saved this from the shredder. The engine bay looks a lot better. It's still not perfect. Still got some suds. I did cover the intake, so I didn't get any water in there. I do have the air cleaner. I think that's in the trunk. Every day, I buy cars to sell parts off of. And ultimately, I end up crushing what's left, which means that those cars don't exist anymore. But sometimes, I like to go the other way. Nope. That is not what I meant. What I mean is that I like to buy cars and fix them, save them from the shredder. And that's what I've done here. That was the whole point of buying this, is to keep it out of the shredder When this car was for sale in Kansas, there were two people interested in it, myself and a guy that scraps cars for a living. And had I not bought this, this car would cease to exist. It would be gone. And that would have been a travesty. Now, I'm not saying this is some rare car. It's not some nice mint example. It still needs a ton of work, which brings me to my next point. It's time to be brutally honest with myself. I don't have the time for this. I didn't have time for it when I bought it, and I have even less time now. So I think it's time to pass the torch. You know, I have a lot of projects, and I don't want to be that guy that hoards project cars and never gets to them, and instead they rot in his driveway. It's time for someone else to see this one through. Now, this is a big project. It needs a lot of work. It needs a windshield. It needs an interior. It still doesn't run right. The brake pedal is no idea what the suspension and steering are like. So don't think that you can drive it home. But what is it worth? Well, I know what the transmission's worth, and I hate to see this thing get parted out after all I've done, so I won't sell it for less than the transmission's worth. But beyond that, send me some offers. When I first posted about this car, there were several interested people. They sent me emails. I'm going to leave my email at the top of the video description. You can shoot me some offers. If you need the car shipped, I can help you with that. Or if you want to pick it up in the Midwest, I'm in the St. Louis area, I can help you with that as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video series. I really just wanted to get some other series complete. I mean, I know the car's not done, but I wanted to end the series of videos on a few of my cars before I post about my new ones or announce my new ones or start that video series. I like to finish something and then start it. It's a new chapter of my life. I really hope you enjoyed this series. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.